Deswegen hat sie sich auch an den Hals When I came to...
The victim was already dead, is that it?
Ja toll, aber dann fällt der Verdacht jetzt wieder auf Phoenix zurück.
That's why I couldn't reveal who I really was. If it came out that I was in league with Smith, I'd be a suspect for sure. Well, where does this leave us?
Well, madness, this is madness. I'm dreaming. It must have been me who was hit with a bottle, and I'm imagining all of this.
It appears our prosecution is at his wit's end, and frankly, I can't blame him. Mr. Gavin, what do you think about this turn of events?
Mr. Gavin, sir, I believe that, as the defense in this case, we are compelled to call Miss Orley a big fat liar. Wieso das denn jetzt schon wieder? What? 3 were in that room the night of the murder, the defendant, victim, and her. And she has a motive. A motive? Her plot foiled, the witness got into an argument with her client, Mr. Smith. And the denouement of that argument was murder. What? I'm no killer. It's a trap. Someone's trying to frame me. What tangled webs we weave when we practice to deceive. So tangled, ist ein cooler Reim. So tangled we catch ourselves in the process.
Miss Wright?
Such a hasty conclusion. It's not like you, Christoph Gavin. What are you saying? Why not consider the other possibility, that there was another person in the room at the time of the murder? Right, like Mr. Wright was saying before recess. A single card was swapped into the victim's hand after the murder, and the one who swapped the card didn't know 2 colors of cards were being used. A 4th person. Vielleicht hat er seinen eigenen Zeugenstand aufgebaut.
This is theory again. Your 4th person doesn't exist.
Indeed, that's why I decided to bring this case to court. Here, where there's no escape and no chance for deception, the perfect place to catch the real criminal.
The real criminal?
And we're in luck. The clue to the real criminal's identity was kindly provided for us. And right at the beginning of the trial, no less.
What?
Apollo, perhaps you know what I'm talking about. Sorry? Remember what I said. The 4th person who swapped the cards made one critical error. He or she wasn't considering the color on the backs of the cards. Right. But how could such an obvious mistake occur? The cards used for the last game were red. Yet there is one person here in our court who thought those cards were blue. Yeah, I had that impression too, but why? Well, Apollo, think you can figure out who it was?
It's not me, I swear.
Who's this 4th person? Why do I always get put on the spot like this? Let's hear what the defense has to say. Who was it? Who thought the cards used in the final game were blue? Kann ich so weit zurückspulen? Yeah. Apollo, do you seriously think that?
I think I'm seriously confused.
I'm seriously sorry. That didn't go well. Well, it can't be helped. I almost missed it myself. But it doesn't do anyone any good to turn their eyes away from the truth. Does it, Christoph? What?
Mr. Gavin?
You don't mean... Christoph Gavin, you were the 4th person that night. But of course Mr. Gavin knows the color of the cards. How would he? As you can oh. The photo of the crime scene was black and white. You can't tell which of the cards are blue, the ones on the floor or the table. But look, you can see the colors in this photo. Yes, but when he said the cards were blue, it was well before this evidence came to light.
It is true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim,
Yet it was only that, a game in the purest sense. Stimmt, hat doch seinen poetischen Satz abgelassen von Blue und Red.
A competition?
Yes, a test of wits, a silent clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame, know its final outcome. Well, Christoph. Mr. Gavin?
Mr. Gavin, is something the matter?
No, nothing. Excuse me. It was just so sudden. Right. You aren't seriously accusing me, are you? Oh, Christoph. You know even I'd never take a joke this far.
This has gone beyond ridiculous, beyond dumb. This is insanity. The defendant accusing his own defense attorney of murder?
I assure you I'm quite sane.
But what possible connection could Mr. Gavin have to the victim?
I wasn't aware that I had a connection to Mr. Smith either.
Yes, but Mr. Gavin and the victim have never even met.
Well, what if they have?
Huh?
There is a possibility, after all. They may have met that night before the game started.
What are you suggesting?
Is this a truth Mr. Wright was staying silent about? Only one thing to do. Mr. Wright, the defense would like to request that you testify to the court. The defense would like to request no such thing. Mr. Gavin, testimonies must relate to the case. How could anything happening before that game of poker be related?
I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Gavin.
As I explained before, the defense believes that Miss Orley...
Am I to assume you speak for Mr. Justice in this? He is the defense, not you. Mr. Justice, the matter of Mr. Wright's testimony is up to you.
Okay,
Does the court, in your opinion, need to hear Mr. Wright's testimony?
Können wir uns ja mal überlegen, während ich mir mein nächstes Bier hole. Nee, brauchen wir nicht. Scheiße, ja. Okay, die Frage war auch nicht so wirklich ernst gemeint. Natürlich will ich das jetzt hören. This was Mr. Wright's strategy. He was planning this all along. And I intend to see it through. The defense would like to request that Mr. Wright testify to the court. It too, Justice. You would betray me, your teacher. I'm sorry, Mr. Gavin. This isn't about loyalty. This is about the truth.
Very, very well, the defendant, Mr. Wright, will take the stand, please.
Ja, jetzt bin ich ja mal gespannt. Appetite before murder. That evening, Christoph and I had dinner. We sat at the table in this photograph. Das ist aber nicht Christoph. Shady Smith walked in 5 minutes after Christoph left. When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. The girl was knocked out cold and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin.
Mr. Gavin, you were at the Borscht Bowl Club the night of the murder.
I dined with him rather frequently.
And he talked to the defendant on the phone directly after the murder.
Quite against my will, I had become involved in the murder. I thought I might be in need of a lawyer, so I called him. You were planning this all along, weren't you, Wright? Just because you wanted to drag me into your little murder trial. The only thing I want is the truth, as I did back then and now. Oh, I thought my office was doing you a favor when we took on your defense. It appears that I was wrong.
Very well, the defense may cross-examine the witness.
Justice. Sir, he's lying and you're going to expose him. Understood, sir, but I'm not sure. Mr. Gavin versus Mr. Wright. This can't end well. Why can't I have a normal trial? Okay, Christoph and I had dinner. We sat at the table with this photograph. Sieht man? Achso, we sat at the... Ich hab's falsch verstanden. Ich dachte, we sat at the table. Das Photograph meint, wir sitzen beide in diesem Foto an einem Tisch. Aber man sieht ja nur Shady. Aber was gemeint war, dass die beide, dass es der Tisch ist an dem beide gesessen haben. Also nacheinander. Haben wir einen leichten Conflict of Interest schon irgendwie, ne? You had dinner with Mr. Gavin. Yes, he dines with me at the Borscht Bowl Club quite frequently. We were enjoying a usual dinner at our usual spot, as usual. Usual? I always eat at the table closest to the piano.
I see. Where Mr. Smith was sitting.
Are the plates and such on the table from your dinner? Indeed, the remnants of my meal with Christoph. Zeig ich noch mal. Ah ja, da sieht man Essen. We dined for 2 hours, then Christoph left. After that, Shady Smith walked in 5 minutes after Christoph left. 5 minutes? So the two of them could have passed in the restaurant during that time. That would have been a fateful encounter, to be sure.
Oh, Mr. Wright, what was it you said? Christoph Gavin and Shady Smith may have met.
I believe I did say that.
Yeah, I was all nervous about this meeting, and now we hear they just passed in the hall.
That does seem a little weak as a pretense for murder.
Oh, it would be if that were all that really happened. Come on, Mr. Wright. What are you hiding this time? When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. About this failed trap. This is the same trap that Miss Olga Orley mentioned. The plan was simple. Elegant, really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. I always supplant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When their hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. He would then pull out the planted card and the trap would snap shut. Swap the cards. Ja, das hatten wir gerade erst. Yes, a harmless prank in essence. It was by a quirk of fate that I happened to discover it.
A quirk?
I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. The card she planted. Yes, I snuck a peek at it and found it was the 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game.
Disposed? Where?
That was an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle.
An empty bottle of grape juice?
The murder weapon? Yes, I rolled it up and shoved it in. The colored glass makes it hard to see.
A battle of wits between the deceiver and the would-be deceived. That sounds like terrific drama.
A card inside the murder weapon? That's strange. Ist keine drin, oder? Stimmt, ist definitiv keine drin. Did the police miss it in their investigation? Maybe I'll take a look.
Mr. Wright, the poker head of courtroom number 3 approves of this battle of wits. Please revise your testimony with this new information.
I discovered the trap during this game, disposed of the card in the bottle. Okay, present.
Objection!
Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes. I've examined the bottle and I don't see any card in here. No.
What, Mr. Wright? Surely isn't all you have to say for yourself.
I can't say that I know what happened to the card. I did put it in that bottle, however. Huh? Perhaps the 5th person came and took it out. Oh, and the 6th person could have helped.
Mr. Gavin, Mr. Wright is your client.
My apologies, Your Honor.
I won't have you disparaging our investigation either. We looked inside that bottle. There was nothing.
So what's going on? Is Mr. Wright hoodwinking us again? Or did the card just disappear?
In any case, please continue the cross-examination.
Könnte denn die Karte hin sein?
I'm afraid decisive contradictions call for decisive evidence.
Oh. Push him harder, Justice. Break him. It's just you and the witness in the ring. Go for the KO. Why do I get the feeling we're not on our client's side anymore? Was ist denn hier? Ich glaube, da habe ich noch gar nicht nachgehört. You made the call to the police from the first floor of the restaurant, correct? Exactly. Cell phones don't get a signal down in the hideout. Was anyone else on the first floor at that time? Not a soul. It was the middle of the night, after all. So there in the darkened restaurant, I called the cops. After making the call, I returned to the hideout. It didn't seem right to leave the injured waitress alone. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. So when you returned, the victim was already dead, yes. I'll admit, I was a little startled when I walked in.
A little?
He was bleeding from his forehead, after all. I guess I'd be startled too if I walked in on a scene like that. That's when I made another phone call to Defense Attorney Gavin. Could you explain why you called Mr. Gavin? I'd obviously gotten involved in a rather sticky affair, and I figured Crystal's law offices would give me a friend rate for my defense fees. Oh, glad to hear you intend to pay. Oh, I'll pay in full, Christoph. It was I who got you involved after all. You may find the price of your defense quite high, my good friend. Quite high. Is this the truth that Mr. Wright was talking about? What to do is lying, expose him? No. Yes, sir. I have to think, what's Mr. Wright trying to tell me with this testimony? The truth has to be in there somewhere. Können wir nochmal pressen, wo ich noch nicht hatte? 5 minutes? So the two of them could have passed in the restaurant during that time. Would have been a fit for. Okay, das hatten wir schon. Moment. Hat removed during investigation. Here. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. Aber das sieht man hier nicht. Das ist das Foto vom Tatort, bevor die Polizei den Hut während ihrer Untersuchung entfernt haben. Also, wie soll er seine Stirn gesehen haben? Bam! Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes? Take a look at this photograph of the crime scene. See the victim here? He's wearing a hat. I wouldn't think you could see blood on his forehead. Good point. Justice. Next time you point out an inconsistency, put a little more oomph into it.
Mr. Wright, can you explain this to the court?
Oh, I forgot to mention something. I was the one who put that hat on his head.
Huh? You? You put the hat on the dead man's head?
He wore it through our entire poker game. After calling the police, when I returned to the scene, his head was in full view, shining bright, just like in this photograph.
And?
I picked his hat up off the floor and put it on his head.
Why'd you do a thing like that?
All I can say is, I'm sorry. But that's the only thing I touched at the crime scene. So, Miss Orley didn't see it? It being the victim's or his head? Well, I think not. She was out cold. I believe I was the only one who witnessed his head. Oh, here we go again. Mr. Gavin? Pardon. It just seems that our client is determined to lie his way through this case. He's still our client, isn't he? I believe that's enough of that. Mr. Gavin? This witness's testimony is more like a travesty. It's riddled with lies. I'm beginning to see how you came to lose your attorney's badge 7 years ago. Well, you certainly have a unique way of treating your clients, Christoph. I never knew. I believe it was you who threw the first stone. Mr. Wright, if you intend to ever tell the truth about this case, it's now or never. Don't be misled. I haven't told a single lie here. Huh? When I noticed the trap, I put the car in the bottle to dispose of it. And when I put the hat on the victim's head, let's just say I had a reason for doing that as well.
Reason?
That reason is right here. Your cell phone? That night, recall that I spoke with Defense Attorney Gavin after calling the police. Just in case, I recorded our conversation. What's this? Now that we're all here, I see no reason why I shouldn't play back for the court. Christopher, I seem to be in a bit of trouble. What's this? Game not going well? Something like that. The gentleman who challenged you, he turned out to be good? He turned out to be dead. Someone hit him hard. You mean someone cracked that flawless bone China plate? Was? China? Was? It wasn't you, was it? Me? Please. The cops should be here any minute. I'm in your hands, should it come to that. Bone China plate? Was soll das denn sein? A kind of porcelain, very smooth and shiny, and not plate, but plate. I believe he was referring to a certain gentleman's balding forehead. Ach so. Oh, Und er hat den Hut dann wieder drauf gemacht. Ah, ich glaube, ich habe eine Idee.
The court appreciates the defendant's discretion in not indicating my forehead.
Wait a second. Something's not right about that phone call. Ja, woher? Genau, wenn wirklich Christoph Gavin und dieser Shady Smith nur kurz aneinander vorbeigegangen sind und Phoenix meinte, Shady Smith hätte die ganze Zeit über den Hut aufgehabt. Woher kann Christoph dann wissen, dass Shady Smith hier keine Haare mehr hatte, es sei denn, er hat ihn ohne Hut gesehen? Und wenn er behauptet, das Mordopfer gar nicht zu kennen, kann er die Glatze ja nur gesehen haben, als er ihn totgehauen hat, wenn es Christoph doch war. So after Mr. Gavin ate dinner with you, he left the Borscht Bowl Club? Most certainly. Then how did we know? When did he see this bone, whatever that is?
Oh, that's right.
Yes, that was when I began to see my good friend in a different light. Troubled, I returned to the crime scene, and when I spotted Mr. Smith's head again, I realized exactly what was wrong. Well, Mr. Gavin, the stage has been set. Perhaps you would like to explain this to the court? Exactly how did she come by your privileged knowledge of the victim's head? So, this is your reason? The reason why you put the victim's hat back on? Your point, Mr. Gavin? It's come down to this, has it? Phoenix, right?
Order, I will have order, Mr. Payne.
Yes, Your Honor.
I believe this court has been left with no other choice. Are you prepared to hear defense attorney Gavin's testimony?
Well, as the prosecutor, I just shit my pants.
Very well. We'll break for 10 minutes. After which Gavin will take the stand for a cross-examination. Are we all clear on that?
Crystal clear, Your Honor.
Very well. This will be the final recess for the day.
Oh, das wird jetzt aber awkward sein, mit Gavin rauszugehen. Mr. Gavin and Mr. Wright are both in the judge's chamber. Okay. Mr. Gavin ist zum Glück nicht da. Who'd have thought today would turn out like this? May I? Oh, jetzt geht Christian pissen, wenn sie kommt. Genau, das wollte ich mich auch nochmal fragen. Haben wir hier eigentlich... Doch nicht? Ach, dann war das vielleicht nur in dem Miles Edgeworth Spiel, das jetzt auch rauskommt. In irgendeinem Spiel gab es die Option, auch optional zur alten Grafik zu schalten. Würde ich jetzt nicht machen wollen. Ich finde, die verbesserte Grafik sieht auch gut aus. Mich hatte nur mal interessiert, wie sie nochmal in der alten Grafik aussah. Ich komme noch öfter, wenn ich da... Ah, okay. Huh? What?
Hello, sir. Please pick a card.
What's all this about? Oh, ist das jetzt die Karte? Monkey Island auf der Xbox 360 hatte das auch. Es gibt ja einige Spiele, die das hatten. Sven, wir haben doch mal ein Halo. Haben wir nicht das Halo kann man das Remake nennen? Irgend so eine neue Version von Halo bei dir gespielt, wo man auf die alte Grafik umschalten konnte? War das bei dir? Mit irgendwem habe ich Halo mal im Koop gespielt in einer Version, wo man zwischen der neuen und alten Grafik hin und her schalten konnte. Oder habe ich mit dir Halo im Original in Koop gespielt? Das kann auch sein. Wir haben das ganz alte gespielt. Irgendwann habe ich Halo nochmal im Koop gespielt. Das war dann, glaube ich, das, wo man umschalten konnte. Die ersten Halo-Spiele waren schon cool. Ist ab in den Zeugenstand. Is this one okay?
Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You'll need a trump card to make it.
Trump card?
The card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely and the game is yours. That's all.
An ace. Where do I remember that card from? Da ist Blut drauf.
Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces and Mr. Wright's 2. It's 5 aces in all. It is true. I have seen it. The 5th ace. There was cheating. I swear it to you.
The missing 5th ace. Wait, this blush of red. Is this blood?
You have your trump card. Now it's up to you to cut the deck and draw the truth. My father's fate is in your hands. I know you can do it.
This bloodstained card is my trump card for finding the truth? I fell deep in thought as my mind raced to understand what this all meant. That girl, I'd seen her recently, but where? On the locket. That's when I made the connection. Bloody ace added to the court record. Received from a mysterious girl. Could this be the missing 5th ace?